I knew it. Knew it.
He broke something.
Are we live? Are you serious?
No.
Seriously? Are we? I don't trust you.
You are live.
We've probably been live like 27 minutes and people listen to everything, so the show's already over.
Oh my god. Another week. Hey.
Hi. We are totally sponsored by Tullamore Dew and Twisted Tea.
Good.
Yeah, good. Hi guys. If you don't like it, call us.
You know what you should do? I'm Gizz Lazlo.
I'm just Paul.
Another week. This is what, week 33?
33.
I wasn't here last week.
No, you were dying of the thing.
I was dying last week, man. I did not fare well with that fucking COVID or cold or whatever the fuck I had. But it fucking beat the shit out of me.
It sounded like the Covers.
The Covers?
Covards.
Did I have Converse?
Converse. You got Converse of the heels.
Oh my god! But I was in bed all fucking week and I didn't do anything musically.
Well, that doesn't mean much. It has been years since you did something musically.
Fuck you. No, I didn't sign up for this shit. You
did. You begged me to come on. You signed the contract first.
So how did your show go last week?
Actually, it was a really good time, man. Yeah. Frank is an absolute hoot. There was some guy next to me. I don't know what his name was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He's a homeless guy.
I refused to watch because I wasn't on it.
Yeah, well, he smelled like bacon. Kind of like burnt bacon had been in the sun for a little while.
Evidently, he wasn't a Jew.
Nope, not Jewish at all. Okay, maybe a little Jewish. No, it went pretty well. And then you were sick and I couldn't get a hold of you. And then I got gnarly, so I ate something bad, kind of maybe stomach bug, sort of fuck this world sick.
Yeah, I heard you were sick.
And we have done nothing since. So,
well, I'm glad to be back. I'm happy to be back. Other than that, I there's nothing to catch up on because we did nothing last week.
We didn't do anything last week at all. We did do something today, though.
What'd you do today, Paul?
We ran into Carrot Head.
Oh, Garrett Top
from
the Radioactive Chicken Heads.
That guy.
And they'll be on in January.
January, yes.
We got them in. So
they were getting a very special gift here. Can't say what it was.
Yeah.
Picking up, dropping off. They're doing a free show October 25th at the Licorice Pizza Store in Hollywood.
25th or 21st?
25th. October
25th. That's right.
October 25th at the Licorice Pizza Store in Hollywood. Free show, chicken heads. I recommend you go. It's a fucking hoot.
Me or them?
Them.
Oh, okay.
You.
I don't
Maybe that guy. He looked kind of chickeny.
Twirling
skinny ass legs.
Stick, acting like he's Tommy Glee.
Ooh. Tommy Glitter.
Wasn't Glee
Tommy Glitter?
Glee wasn't that like a one of those millennial movies for?
Yes.
I dated a millennial.
Yeah. No.
I know a lot about Glee. It used to be a toothpaste, wasn't it?
No.
I don't brush my teeth. I don't care.
Oh, I can tell. So what are we doing tonight?
All right. Tonight, our guest is he's not actually an old friend of mine. This is one of our first guests who is fairly new to my circle. He's been around the circle of friends that I have, but I didn't meet him until probably about a year ago. And I've shared the stage with him, I think once, or have we?
What does she look like?
Or I think I saw you guys. Yeah. I saw you guys at Carbon Bowl.
Yeah.
So my drummer, actually, we share a drummer, but Mike Williamson from Junior Juggernaut.
Oh,
and amazing band. I was into him before I met him because obviously our drummer. But today we've been listening to the shit out of it and just going, oh fuck, I listened to this stuff before, but
there's no more shit in it. We listen to all the shit out of it.
Now I'm listening to it and going, oh, and every time I listen to something with you, I love it because you are very like, ooh, like, dude, this reminds me of this. This reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah.
And today we're,
actually, I think it was one of the most fun times we've had listening to a band together like that because the references are really, really deep. I mean, we went all the way to Firehose on that.
Yeah, we're on Poison and Smithereens.
Oh yeah.
Which we'll talk about that more later. But fuck it, let's get him in.
Come on, bud. Ladies and gentlemen, the shortest guy in the room. Oh wait, never mind.
There we go.
Oh, let's make out.
Put it wherever.
I just don't know where you can hear me.
I
by
don't
your
have to do it with
mouth.
my hands.
You're a singer, you know where the microphone goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Heavy metal.
What's up, guys? Cheers.
Gentlemen,
Welcome to our show.
Thank you for the whiskey.
ta-da.
Welcome.
Ta-da.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, everybody. Well, now that we're finally here, does everybody have to pee?
Give me a second.
Yeah, I just started drinking.
I started drinking when I woke up, which was like 5 minutes ago.
You think this is awake?
Yeah. Don't bore me.
Kick back, Sleepy. Little Sleepy.
I used to play with a band, and the drummer, every time we wrote a new song, he was like, "Oh, come on, don't bore us. Get to the chorus." Jesus Christ, dude, why don't you write a song?
Oh, not really. All right,
Ugh.
Mr. Mike,
Yeah. What's up, Paul?
what is the story behind Junior Juggernaut? Let's get the name out of the way because I have theories, but I don't know.
Oh, I want to hear your theory before I tell you.
Well, you're a big motherfucker,
Yeah.
but you're not Juggernaut big. It's like maybe your Juggernaut's like illegitimate son with like Tina Fey.
That is exactly.
That's what I gather.
No, Junior Juggernaut. It's so Junior Juggernaut is a power trio. I've always played in power trios. That's my favorite configuration of a band
Goo Goo
to
Dolls.
see. The original Goo Goo Dolls, not when you go see them now. There's like 10 people on stage.
Yeah, same thing with Green Day.
Yeah, exactly. I love a power trio, and Junior Juggernaut came from the idea of a minimal amount of people making a very big sound because we're a very loud, full sounding band, but we're a power trio. So it was that was the idea: a big sound with a minimal amount of people. A Junior Juggernaut.
There you go. See, I was right.
Plus Tina Fey.
And Tina Fey naked with a big giant metal guy.
Exactly. That was the idea. Yep. So that's the name. You know, all band names are stupid. It's a stupid name, but you know.
No, there's some band names that are even stupider than that.
Foreclosure. Foreclosure.
No, I like Foreclosure quite a bit.
I like it too. So I'm gonna ask you about that band name. So I know it stemmed from a previous band of yours, For Sale. But when I heard the band name, I thought of it as a single word, like foreclosure on a house or something like that. Is it intended to be a play on that?
When Lewis and I started this band, it was because we were forced to start something new. We wanted to continue For Sale, but because two members quit, and it was like, all right, well, we have all these songs, and Lewis was very adamant, like, I just want to record these songs. I don't want to play live. I don't want to tour. I just want to record them, even if we don't release them, but I just want to do it for closure. And I was like, oh, that's it, dude. That's the name of the band. Ooh,
but nobody even thought, and also it's also like foreclosure on a house. Nobody thought that.
That doesn't surprise me.
You guys should have thought that.
No. Dude,
I'll pretend that I did and I gave him the idea. Trademark.
There's a guy named Scott who is the guy from Almost Famous magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually, when I did his show, he was just like, is there like, you were in a band called For Sale, you're in a band called LA Slumlords, you're in a band called Foreclosure. One of you guys in the band's definitely
in real estate. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, no, I think most of the guys in the band own houses except for me.
Yeah.
I'm almost homeless. So I'm definitely not the realtor in the band.
Almost famous or almost homeless.
Oh,
There you go.
Almost famous.
Almost famous, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's the way the band started, and we dropped the E and just made it Foreclosure. And to be honest, I mean, like, one thing that I really think is interesting about you and I is that we're on the same label. I've never really hung out or been very close to anybody on, like I was on New Road Archives, and Sam I Am was on the label.
Yeah.
We played together a couple times, but I knew the guys. I know the guys. I'm not like,
yeah,
we don't have,
No,
Sunday
I like that
brunch.
too. I like that a lot. Like, I like that Mind Power is getting a nice collection of cool bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like that we're gonna, on when we got on, Mind Power, and we get Wall, our drummer who we share. I was excited because I liked you guys so much, and I wanted to start playing shows with you guys. And Wall initially put the kibosh on it.
Yeah.
Because he was like,
Really?
I can't play 2 shows in one
Oh.
night. And I was like, dude, I just
You're
went and
not
saw
a
Crazy
Slayer.
Horse. I saw Ralph Molina play for 2 hours straight, and he's 75 years ago. He's 75 years old. You can't play 2 30-minute sets, you know?
Dude, Toots Hibbert at 90 years old doing backflips on stage for an hour.
Yeah, and so we had to bully him into it. And now we're going on tour together in November, so
November.
that's great.
Mhm.
But yeah, well, I was initially really upset because I wanted to play shows with you guys.
I know.
I mean, there's no way you can find another drummer ever. There's not a single drummer in the world other than you guys.
Well, to be honest, like I would want to. Like,
Fair enough.
you know, I think Wall, he's definitely a phenomenal drummer, but to hang out with him is another level because he's so into music.
Yeah.
And you can have like driving up north, a 6-hour drive, we can talk about bands, and
Yeah.
it doesn't circle back to
Also, I really love the replacements still.
like that man is so, and then he knows everybody because he also, you know, has interviewed bands, and
Yeah.
his knowledge is just about jazz too. So it's like, geez, yeah,
That's
Well,
something.
he has a jazz
yeah,
radio
he,
show.
Yeah, he does a radio show every Saturday.
Yeah, something like that.
Where's that radio show? KKGZ?
KSPC, the Claremont. Is it Claremont?
Yeah, Claremont.
Claremont College.
That's 88.7.
Probably.
Maybe.
So,
Well,
left of the dial.
it's
To
one of
quote the
those-
replacements. Left of the dial.
AM.
AM. No,
Yeah.
PM.
Yeah, I think it's Claremont.
Yeah, Claremont's 88.7.
KSPC, I think
88.1 is KKJZ.
Oh wow, look at you.
Yeah, well, fuck, man. I grounded a lot.
I can see
So
why.
let's get into your previous bands. Anything that was ever recorded that you guys done?
The only other thing that's okay, so the only other thing that I've ever recorded outside of Junior Juggernaut was my high school / college band Squudge that I was telling you about earlier. I think that came out in like 98 or something like that, and it was just a 7-inch in Austin, Texas. We were a like I was telling you earlier, it's a similar thing to Junior Juggernaut. It was Husker Du kind of stuff. It's kind of funny actually. Put the 7-inch out, and you sell it around town at the local record stores. And one of the record stores put it up on their wall, and sometimes they'd write like what you sound like, and it said sounds like Husker Du and the Mats. But I remember going into the store and looking at that and
That's a
going
pretty high compliment.
and going, who's the Mats?
The Postmats.
Well, I know that now, but it took me forever to figure out who the fuck he was comparing us to. I had to like, this is like the dawn of the
Yeah,
internet.
1998. There was like
If you didn't know that,
tomorrow.
then it was hard to figure that out. And so it was probably a year or so before I was like, oh, the Replacements is who he says we sound
Yeah,
like.
so that's a high compliment. That's not bad at all.
I didn't know. I kept like looking through record bins for the Mats. It sounds like a ska band or something.
Oh, God.
Oh man.
So-
God for life.
So yeah, I actually saw a bumper sticker recently because he hates ska a lot.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
I
gonna-
mean, I've never been into ska. I was, I was a Propaganda fan, right? The ska sucks.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. So if I saw somebody had a bumper sticker that says "Keep honking, you're in the band." I like ska.
Fucking Wall sent me that.
Did he?
Yeah, he sent me that sticker.
I'll put that on your.
And then we
yeah, I
ended
like
up on our second record came out on Paper and Plastic, which was run by Vinny from Less Than Jake. So we were in.
Oh, wow.
on
So you are ska. Ska label, ska
Back
band.
when I was in DLP, we played with a lot of ska bands, especially in the late 90s, because
That's what's popular.
yeah, very popular. And I just didn't like it. I mean, they're like against all authority. They were kind of ska, but it was that ska punk,
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm at a place in my life now where it's all good to me as long as it's good. You know what I mean? It's all good to me as long as it's good.
That's not what your best.
You know what I mean? That's yeah, I know that's not what you, but that's where I am. If something is authentic to that person and I can tell that, what bothered me, it's funny because what my problems with ska didn't translate to other genres, even though I could express the same complaint, but it was the learned approach of ska. Like nobody it's felt like all these bands were like copying
It's
one
forced.
band.
It's really forced.
You know, so there's such a formula to it. But then I could say that about blues. I could say that about country.
No,
but something about ska rubbed me the wrong way because it seemed like a Halloween costume or something.
would-
like
I
you
would
put it on
actually-
and then you act like that.
I would debate that a little bit more heavily. Like, so ska coming out of really calypso and island music and evolving into what it did in the late 50s, early 60s, then that blue beat and then that dance hall and ska and all that stuff, that was very organic.
Yeah, but not to 90s punk rock kids.
Well, and then it comes in the specials and the, you know, the 80s stuff. It's like, okay, pretty cool. And then everybody in the late 90s is like, we want to be the specials.
yeah.
And they all kind of formulated that.
But it's
Well,
not
they
so
wanted
special.
to be Op Ivy, I think,
Oh,
you know that. But
He doesn't even like Hop Ivy. Hop Ivy is actually really
And you know why? Because they have that one song, Bad Town.
you don't like that song, or
No,
what?
no.
But now in my life, now in my wizened age, if you're true to yourself, I'll dig it, even if I don't like it. I will give you props for that. I never could get. It seemed inauthentic at the time to me.
To
guess
me,
is what
it's
I
I'm
the
saying.
can't
guitar.
say you're wrong though. I mean, it's
The
like
guitars. It's that skink that. Like, dude, fucking downstrokes. Put some fucking distortion on it.
well, no,
You know,
that
double
was,
up.
so that was the thing is in that.
But
that's
you
a
know,
calypso
Weezer
client.
has that upstroke. You know, and say
No,
it ain't
Weezer only had
so.
one good album. It was Blue.
No. We could. I don't want to become the SNL skit, but I'm not ride or die for Weezer, but they have a lot of good records. They have a lot. They have a lot of good records. A lot of good records. A few clunkers, but.
Look, I mean, you came out with that first album was something that was like, holy shit. And it's like, okay, we're gonna go with this. It's like, fuck off.
Oh, Pinkerton's great. I'll tell you right now, the best Weezer albums: Blue, Pinkerton, Green is really good. Everything Will Be All Right in the End is awesome. And
I
that's
haven't heard
that's
anything
pretty
about it.
recent and it's awesome. It was their last
I'll listen to it.
Rick Ocasek produced record.
Oh,
It was probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years
I
ago.
want to trust him, but I don't know if I do anymore.
The White album's really good. And recently
colors in these.
there are and
It's just a little racy.
and they had like a quadrilogy of EPs called Seasons. 2 of those were really good. Summer was pretty good, and Winter was really good. Really good.
That's a Stephen King thing, though.
What do you mean? What's the Stephen
That's
King?
the Four Seasons.
Oh yeah,
No
that's a good
Bellas.
book. Yeah, with the body.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just ripped off Stephen King and they think they're good.
But they spelled it with a Z, so it's more rock and roll.
10%. So, okay, we've been doing this all day long. Literally, I'm getting obviously Husker Du Sugar, and then the Smithereens is one of the things
Yeah.
that I get out of that. Where do you guys pull your influence from? Obviously, those things. There's got to
Yeah.
be more.
You're the main songwriter, right?
I'm the only songwriter I'm not the only songwriter in the band. I'm the only songwriter in the band that makes Junior Juggernaut songs. Both Wall and Noah are songwriters in their own rights, but
Yes.
they have their own sort of outlets for those.
On my bet.
I'm not even going to ask.
He's just a drummer and producer.
Okay,
He didn't write
Sheffy.
anything on the record. No. Okay, so
He put his name on it.
He has songs in other bands, I think.
Yeah.
Just ska bands.
So influences, it's clearly Dynasty. It's like plain as day, right?
Yeah.
Like I fell in love with big guitar sounds
Yeah.
when I started going to shows in the 90s, and started playing music in the 90s. And I was,
First of all, how old are you?
I'm 47.
Fucking hell. I'm the oldest fucker here. Oh, all right. Easy.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
Easy chompers.
Yeah, no. Dead boy over here.
I'll throw my teeth at you.
You have.
How old are you?
I'm 53.
Okay, that's not much different. But
See?
yeah. So
See, he's not a kid or anything.
He's younger than you.
I know. We got a 20-something-year-old over here. You guys hungry? We can roast him and eat him.
Yeah, we got to bring up the next generation.
yeah.
No, we really don't.
So when I started playing guitar, it was the 90s. Started writing songs in the 90s, and I was definitely like a glam metal kid in like middle school. I mean, you mentioned Poison,
Yeah,
and,
it is.
and
I mentioned
you
poison.
mentioned- I mean, I'm a big fan of
Big guitars.
big guitars and big hooks.
Mhm.
And glam metal bands have big hooks and they have big
Definitely.
guitars. And so I loved
And big
that.
hair.
A friend of mine told me a couple of years ago, he said, I figured out what your favorite style of music is. And I said, he said, it's songs that sound like they should be in the end credits of movies. And I was like, it's true.
That's
actually
a really good way to put that. Wow.
I really like a big hook.
Yes.
And I like rock bands that are really visceral live, a really loud experience. And so Bob Mould, Dinosaur Jr., clearly,
to me, the first thing that ever like opened my ears to you guys was like, you have that Goo Goo Dolls type of,
and I really like the Goo Goo Dolls. And what's funny is like I kind of had to so I first heard the Goo Goo Dolls. I'm a big horror movie fan on the Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare soundtrack.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yes.
which had You Know What I Mean and 2 Days in February off of Hold Me Up. And that was a Metal Blade. Metal Blade put that record out, that both of them, the Goo Goo Dolls record and the Freddy's Dead. And so that was my first introduction to them. And I didn't pursue them more than just listening to the soundtrack and being like, I like those 2 songs. Those are cool. And then I remember hearing We Are the Normal on the radio in my friend's parents' car. I remember it was just like on a radio station, and I like really liked it. I was like, oh, this is a really great song. But then I just I continued to not pursue that. And by the time they were getting kind of popular, I was already becoming elitist. And like, Nirvana was a huge thing for me. And they taught all of us kids, for better or worse, to hate certain things, right? There was an elitism with Nirvana. This is not cool. This is cool.
right?
And at the time, Goo Goo Dolls was not cool. Even though they were...
Well, 5-7 years earlier, they were really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then there was like the whole, what was that movie with Meg Ryan and what's his
But the thing is with Goo Goo Dolls, and John Resnick said it, it's like, dude, we just got to the point where it was like, dude, there's too many dudes at our show. We want to start writing ballads. We want more girls at our fucking shows. And they weren't afraid to say it. They said it on MTV. Where did your style change? We wanted more chicks at our shows.
Show us your moves.
They didn't, Robbie and John never, shied themselves away from that. But they write amazing songs that are,
Even the Cheeseball stuff is actually pretty fucking good if you like dig into it.
the one he
And I
wrote
want-
Iris.
and
Jesus
speaking
Christ.
speaking of those 2 songwriters, I've looked and haven't found an interview, but I'm so curious because Robbie was the front man for their first 2 records, and then John took over. It was
He
sort
was
of
a
split.
skinnier guy.
It was split on Hold Me Up. But to be quite honest, it's
Tighter
John's songs that I am attracted to. It's really not Robbie stuff. Like if it was just a Robbie band, that would have been a band in the 90s I actually would have been cool listening to because they were like a pop punk band. But I don't think they would have stuck with me in the way that Goo Goo Dolls have since, because it's really John's songwriting that I'm attracted to.
I am as well, but to me, like when I first was introduced to Goo Goo Dolls was Hold Me Up. The first song, Laughing.
Yeah.
Robbie,
That's my favorite Goo Goo Dolls album.
dude. Yes. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Which-
but
don't wanna see
Robbie's
those.
vocals on Laughing, and because I'm a huge, comedic, fan.
Oh.
Shut up.
It's like Michael
This is
Scott on The
so- yeah.
Office.
Oh, yeah. I'm so awesome.
Oh God, you annoy the shit out of me.
That's why you love me.
Love
Like the
hate
eggs.
relationship. But
I want eggs tomorrow for breakfast.
But Robbie, I mean, I love it. He has that little bit of snottiness, that nasally.
Yeah.
No.
But you know what?
And then he always fucking plays bass barefoot.
Yeah.
Gotta be barefoot.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah,
That's creepy.
dude.
I mean, I love Robbie is a really important part of the band. He's the only thing that I think has kept them kind of grounded through the years.
Mhm.
I
Gives him
think
that little punk attitude.
he gives that punk attitude. He's the one that keeps it real, and so I really appreciate him as far as the band is concerned. But as far as songwriting, it's definitely John for me. And the snotty thing, it also reminds me of early Lemonheads, which had
was another band.
the
Mhm.
double frontman
Mhm.
thing. And I'm totally blanking on the dude's name. The other dude in
Well, Evan
Lemonheads.
Dando and
Evan Dando. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Ben Dealey.
Yep.
It was very similar. Evan's got this honey sweet voice,
Yeah.
and Ben has this snotty punk rock voice, and he has cool songs. But at the end of the day, it's that kind of songwriting that Evan does, and that kind of voice. Evan Dando's voice influenced how I sing because
I heard that today. Again, that was one of the bands we were
my
talking
voice
about.
does not sound good pushed. It doesn't sound good.
You have to let it happen naturally.
It only sounds good, kind of relaxed. And those were, and Jay Mascis has a very
Relax your
relaxed
throat,
singing
relax your
style.
throat.
Yeah, I mean, but it does.
Relax.
If I try and push like a punk rock kind of thing, I can't sing like you. I can't project like that.
Well,
you know,
when
He doesn't
when we
project very
started
well at
doing
all.
For Sale, is when I believe Wall got into us, and he was a fan of Dead Lazlo's Place. But when we started talking and hanging out, and then when he joined the band and we recorded this album, there was a couple of lines, like 2 songs that were I needed to push, but Wall was very adamant because he produced our record.
Yeah,
was
and
like,
ours.
dude,
Yeah.
I don't want the Lazlo voice. I want the For Sale voice.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a big difference between the 2 different bands.
Yeah.
And when I recorded the songs, I was just like, all right, I'm going to leave those 2 lines for these 2 songs out until the end of the session.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I want to push.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what do you think? And he goes, yeah, okay. Well, sing the song like you would. So I sang it, and he goes, can you bring in that Lazlo voice? And I was like, yeah, I can. And when I did it, the look in his eyes, because I could see him, I don't know
Mhm.
where you guys recorded. Did you
We
guys
recorded vocals at his house, but we recorded the music at 2 different places. Bedrock, where was sort of rehearsal studio before it closed down in Echo Park, and then at Maria's place,
Okay.
at studio in Redlands. Is that?
Yeah, in Redlands. And when where you sing in the vocal booth, and then you can see him in there, Maria's, doing the thing, and he's there going, no, try that again. And then when I was, all right, dude, I'm just going to do it. And when I did it, he was just like, fuck. Like, how do you do that? Like,
yeah.
like you can.
I can't do that.
And-
So if I try, it sounds ugly. My voice sounds ugly if I try and push it that way. The only way it works is like in the Evan Dando kind of range, where it's like it's a more relaxed singing style. Otherwise I hate it.
So,
Sounds bad.
To go backwards, do you guys actually know anybody from those bands?
Which ones?
Or Goo Goo Dolls and the Lemonheads?
No,
I've met Robbie once, many years ago at the country club.
I certainly don't know any of it. I mean, I've met Evan Dando. I've met John Rizzo. I
You
certainly
have a
don't know
picture
him.
with.
I have a picture of it. I've
So
met him
that's-
twice, but it's like at events. It's
But
like
that's
at a
like
show.
to our audience. It would be really cool if you guys would fucking reach out to them, because I know some people in our audience do know those guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
how cool would it be to have a little fucking
Wall
reunion
knows
time?
him.
Wall sent our record to Robbie, but I don't know if he heard anything back about it. I think he just like sent it sort of blindly to. I think Robbie has a record label or something. But
What?
anyways,
He does?
yeah. Anyway,
That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, everybody out there in not TV land, fuck you if you don't try.
Hey, Mark, why don't you try to set us up with their label?
I mean, I just
Mark,
I just
don't
spent
fire
10
him right
minutes
now.
talking about how John is the songwriter that I prefer, though. But
Doesn't matter. I mean, that's an okay thing, I believe. Like, if the replacement's kicking out a member because he wouldn't drink with them. It's a responsible thing.
But
to
anyway,
do.
to wrap up the Goo Goo Dolls thing, so I liked them, and then they weren't punk enough for me. Basically, by the time they were hitting, and then I'm not quite sure when I came around again, but at some point I just, it's the kind of band you like hear in the mall or in like a
Grocery store.
in a grocery store,
Yeah.
and I would
Smart
hear it and
plan.
I'd say that's really good songwriting, actually, and then I just went backwards and Hold Me Up, Superstar, Boy Named Goo, and Dizzy Up the Girl. Those 4 albums are like awesome. They're awesome albums. And I miss that Goo Goo Dolls. You know what I mean? I really miss that band because they have not been that band for a long time. But that version of the band, which is like, clearly once John started taking over songwriting, clearly a replacements, copycat band almost, but they pretty quickly morphed into something that was more
Polished.
streamlined
Much
than the
more
replacement
polished, yeah.
ever were. Yeah. And
Are you a Doughboys fan?
I never listened to them much, actually.
Have you ever?
No, I know the history of them and Wall's history with them and everything. But I haven't listened that much to be perfectly honest.
That's
But
one
I
of those
should.
bands. One of those bands that, if it wasn't for John Kastner, I would not have this voice.
Yeah.
That guy
He sounds just like Bigfoot.
clearly influenced.
Yeah, and
me.
Kastner, we know him because Cobra Side distributed our third record, and I
Yeah.
met him there, and he manages Evan Dando and all this stuff, or at least he did. I don't know if he still does. I should dig into Doughboys because I think for sure I would
That's
like
awesome.
them.
To me, from where I come from, is my voices are John Kastner and Frankie Stubbs from Leatherface.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know, Leatherface, that gritty. To me, Frankie is the punk rock Louis Armstrong.
Mm.
You know, that it's a melodic voice, but it's got that grit.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You know,
interesting.
It's just why I love Leatherface so much, is because to have that grittiness but still be melodic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it's almost hardcore, but it's melodic. You
I
know?
mean, that was that natural progression. One of the other bands that I thought you guys sounded a little like is Nothington. There's a little bit of that, like that gritty kind of road wearied sort of like you've seen some shit, man. Like I followed a one-legged bum through a bus station once. Like it kind of translates to that like real world sort of experience. And so you got 4 albums or 5 albums?
Four records,
albums.
Yeah.
And I mean, just listening through, I listened to another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I would, before the song was over, I was singing along with the chorus.
Yeah, he told me that today when I showed
I
up.
was like, it was the first time I heard that. I was like, "Bop, this is happening."
I mean, I do like a hook. Yeah, it's I sort of won't. It won't make it to rehearsal if it doesn't have a big hook. That's really all I'm interested in.
when you write your songs, do you write them, in your guitar? You write your lyrics and then you present it to the band, or do you do little demos?
Well, I usually write it on an acoustic guitar, and then I will usually record it on my phone, and then I will usually send it to. I mean, it's really been Wall lately because Noah is fairly recent to the band. So for a while there, we didn't have a bass player. I was just sending stuff to Wall, and then they will maybe become a little bit familiar with it from that iPhone acoustic recording, and then we'll either rehearse it. I'm wondering if on this record, if we even rehearsed before we recorded. We may not have. It may have just been like learning it and then recording it.
Wow, that's cool.
I think that's kind of how we did it. I just sent him Wall because this last record was mainly me and Wall. Noah wasn't in the band until we were sort of wrapping up, and then we got him on a couple of tracks. But it was just this record was mainly acoustic demo on my phone. Wall kind of familiarizes himself with it, and then we went into a room and sort of just hashed it out. Like I remember Everything I Touch, the one that we made the video for, we changed the outro of that song right before we recorded it, because I had written it and it sort of felt like an outro on a song on a previous record, and Wall called me on it. And this is just because we're just learning it for the first time here, And then I was like, okay, well, let me change it. And then we record it. And that's just how it stayed. That's like literally the version you hear, just right. But 10 minutes before it was the outro the chord progression was changed because we really didn't know the song that well at the time.
So when did the process for the newest album start? When did you guys get into that one?
We started recording what we thought were demos in 2019.
Yeah.
And we were recording them at our rehearsal studio. It was just we had sort of parted ways with our bass player Mario. We didn't have a bass player, and I just kind of had these songs and I wanted to demo them. And Wall literally brought a few mics and a laptop into our rehearsal studio, and we banged 5 songs in. And then Wall started mixing them. And previous to that, all of our albums were recorded in a studio to 2-inch tape. We were like totally analog. It was that kind of thing. And never in a million years did I think what we had recorded in the rehearsal studio would be decent enough to like be a record, but he started mixing it. And I was like, I don't know, that sounds like a record actually, you know? And so we just built on top of it and
So
had,
he produced your record as well.
yeah, I mean, we produced together, he engineers and mixes. We recorded 5 songs at Bedrock in our rehearsal studio. And then COVID hit and he was sort of like mixing through COVID. And when COVID was, I thought we'd release it as an EP, those 5 songs to get something out. And then by the time COVID ended, I had a bunch more songs. And I was like, I don't know, let's go to Maria's and record 5 more and make a record. You know, so that was 2021. We recorded the second batch. And then for whatever reason, it took forever to like finish mixing and doing a little overdub, even because you know,
Well, it seems to be like that.
well, but it's also
Really?
it's also me.
Do tell.
The you know, the band, you know, I don't do this for a living, you know, it's also like fitting it in our schedules, you know, like when I can get out to his place to record stuff and blah blah blah. So
Where do you live?
in Burbank. I live in Burbank.
Fucking hell.
And you're for like professional, you're an astronaut, right?
Yeah, I'm an astronaut.
Yeah.
No, I'm a filmmaker
He's a
professionally.
juggernaut.
That's right. I heard about this, and you have a new film coming out.
I do. I have a short
Mr.
playing.
Static.
Yeah, Mr. Static. Yeah, come see it. Beyond Fest in next weekend. It's playing the Los Feliz 3. But yeah. So, anyways, the whole process was like 5 fucking years to make 10 songs. But it's one of those things where I look at it and it's like it took 5 years. But if we had like just devoted ourselves to it, we could have done it in like 3 weeks.
So you could have gone with a land speed record.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's the same thing with Foreclosure. I mean,
Yeah.
in 2023, January, Lewis, Wall, and I went in and recorded 5 songs, or 4 songs, and then we went back in the beginning of.
And then you
last
asked
year.
someone to guitar solo on one of them.
Yeah, and actually,
Really?
I wanted to hit on that was because the song that you did was Moon at Noon, and when I first heard that you were going to add a guitar solo to it, I was like, okay, whatever. And I really didn't know you.
Yeah.
And when I heard it, the first time I heard it, I was just like, this actually doesn't sound like us. It's a great solo, but it changes the whole. Because that song, was very deep to me. Because I wrote that song when my dad had his first heart attack. I was just in a place that was so dark already. And when I wrote the demo for that, I already had a feeling of what I wanted the song to be. Once we recorded it and Wall had it in his hands and he asked you to be on it, when I heard the first mix on it, I was just like, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't think this song needs a guitar solo. And
well, that's where you're wrong, because
but I never
every song needs a guitar solo.
but listen, I never was like, I never said no.
Yeah.
But once the mix came back and I heard it, it hit me. And when we released the song, I think it was 3 weeks later is when I got the call from fucking Stevie Van Zandt. And he was like, dude, that fucking song, Jack, that's amazing. And I thought, cool. So the second time I talked to him, I was like, all right. He's like, now I want you guys on my show. I want this song to be the coolest song in the world.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa, fuck. To me, it was all about my dad, like, oh, like he has something to do with this. So when I asked him, I go, wait, what was it about? He goes, fucking lyrics, bro. He's a sentiment about it. He goes, and that fucking killer guitar solo.
Are you kidding me?
And I was like,
how did nobody ever tell me this shit?
I don't tell anybody. I wanted to tell you.
Van Zandt is what, like, he doesn't practice. When Bruce calls, he goes, hey, we're going on tour. He's like, all right, I'll meet you there. He doesn't practice. He just fucking goes and does it. Like, were you kidding me, dude? Like, his little finger.
Well, that's crazy to hear. That's crazy to hear.
That was one of the reasons behind it, because he was just like, dude, there's killer guitar solo on that thing.
God damn it.
And
you just now found out.
Get me on the phone with him.
Lewis is the only one I've ever told that to, because Lewis and I wrote the song.
Yeah.
I really never told Wall, because I knew he would tell you. And I wanted to be the one.
Oh, dude. I can't believe that. That's crazy. What a compliment. I went and saw them when they were in town earlier this year, I guess.
I've sent him more songs since then. And he's like, cool. Yeah, that's cool, Jack.
Oh, you got to get me on the you got to get me on the solo. No, it's funny. Mark, keeps texting me to make a video of me playing that solo so he can learn it. So
who?
Mark.
Who?
And I was like,
No.
I don't even know what I did. I just was winging it. Now you're gonna make me learn the solo so I can
You're
teach
gonna
you.
play that song on tour, though.
I know I'm gonna be.
Oh,
So
For
I
those
have
8
to.
shows
I
or
have
whatever.
to. I have to learn it now because I'm figured.
Like,
Well, if I'm at
you
all
know,
of these shows, I'm probably
Lewis-
better play.
Lewis, when he plays it, he was like, "Oh, there's this." I can't remember what song he was like, "Oh, dude, okay, this is my solo." And like, that's not a solo. Those are
man.
guitar thingies. That's to me, that's what Lewis plays. He plays little guitar thingies, those little, those counter melodies.
Yeah, sure,
That's
sure.
what I called them. When me and Lewis first started playing together in 1989, when we started Dead Lazlo's place, the original Dead Lazlo's place, and we got a second guitar player, and then he would just do those little octave thingies, and I was just like, "Oh, dude, this song needs a guitar thingy," and then he goes, "All right," and then he looked at me, he goes, "All right," on the end of the song, because I was the original drummer, and he goes, "Hey, I want the taka-takas," and I was like, "With taka-takas, where you go taka-taka-taka-taka." Oh, okay. So that became our thing. Outros are always the taka-takas. And so now when we're talking to Wall and we're recording, like, "Hey, can you add a little taka-taka on that part?" And Wall looks at me, "What the hell's a taka-taka?" Like,
That sounds like a
like,
Tijuana
are you-
barbecue.
Yeah.
Like, do you want like those chips?
Yeah,
or
it's making me
Takis?
hungry.
Or,
Yeah.
Taquitos?
But and then Lewis and I, it's like we just write so well together. When he writes the entire song, like just the guitars,
Mhm.
the guitar melodies, of bass that he does on guitar, and then he's a drummer as well, so he'll play the drums and just fill in what he feels is the beat,
Yeah.
and then fucking Wall hears it, and then he puts his stank on it, which is always amazing. But what I love about Wall is that I'm a drummer as well, and he respects me as a drummer,
Mhm.
which a lot of bands that I've
Does
been in do not.
But does he?
Lazlo. We had one drummer where we recorded, and he was the new guy in the band. Phenomenal drummer. And when I was like, "Hey man, can you do this and can you do this on this one part? Because when I'm singing, bro, why don't you stay in your lane?" And I was like, "I'm the drummer in this band. You're the singer. You do your thing. I'll do mine." And he said it like that. And I was just like, "You fucking cocksucker."
I've never been in a band with egos.
Oh my god.
I never have.
That was kind of one of my next questions. Was like how playing with guys that are as talented as you guys actually are. I know you guys all downplay it and shit, but you're all pretty fucking good. What is it like being around other egos like that? And is there kind of a really egalitarian sort of feel about it?
I mean, in all the bands that I've been in, first of all, I write the songs, I play guitar the songs, I sing the songs. It's a power trio. Everyone knows that it's like my songs, but I've never been around people that I've never had people that, Wall defers to the song. I feel like there's no ego there, and I've never really had a bass player that also, I mean, God, I think if you have a bass player, the ego is probably a really bad sounding bass player, because bass player by nature is there to serve the song. You know what I mean?
I've always been lucky.
John and Twizzle.
Yeah, okay.
I've always been lucky, especially with DLP, with Steve Sempronio, who's one of my best friends, and that man's fingers and just his sense of melody.
You're turning me on.
And I don't mean to disparage the importance of a bass player, right? Because it's funny. I was talking to my wife the other day how I when I listen to music that gets me pumping, I never air guitar. I always either air drum or air bass, and I don't know why. I don't know why it is, but I like to zero in on the bass line and find it in my brain. And I was one of my favorite songs to air bass to is "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi. It's got this incredible bass line.
Yeah,
really like.
Okay,
it is the song to me. And I was reading about Bon Jovi the other day, and it was so funny to me that I read that song in particular is the only song on that record that their bass player did not play bass on. It was some other guy who I think is now their current bass player, and the
one-legged bum he followed.
But he was like a friend of John's. He'd played with John before, but he wasn't in the band. But that to me was like, oh wow, that guy must be an awesome songwriter then, that bass player, because to me that song is all a boom dun 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 dun. Like I can't listen to that song and not just go zoom to the bass. That's like all
It's
all
the
I
counter
hear.
melody. It's
Yeah.
you're stretching. You're making both instruments bigger by doing the counter melody.
Okay, I have a really quick story to say. The
we have a
very first
guest.
time that I met Wall was at a show for Raise Your Cake magazine, and I was the sound guy. So I set up all the sound, the PA and everything, and then there was a bunch of bands played, and one of Wall's bands that he really doesn't like to talk about was on the bill. And
It's casual.
I didn't say it.
He's not here. He can't. He loves It's Casual. I love It's Casual.
But whatever reason. But anyway, anyway, that night when they played, he was up there doing the line check, and he goes, "Hey, you're Gizz Lazlo, right?" Yeah. He goes, "You were in Dead Lazlo's place." Yeah. And he goes, "Dude, when you recorded Don't Turn Your Back, there was a song that you recorded, Don't Turn Your Back." He's like, "There's this thing, and I was like, okay, I kind of remember that part." He's the way you play off the ride and the snare. He's like, "I really, really fucking like that. I've actually stolen that fucking beat that you did, and I did it on this one song. I think on a co-ed song." And I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "Dude, you're a fucking phenomenal drummer." I was like, "Dude, what the fuck?"
That is what my band is now. That's what's so easy for me to get along with Wall and Noah, who's our bass player now, is that we're all music nerds. We are obsessed with music, and we dissect records. We listen to them obsessively. It's not just like a thing, like, oh, let's rock out or whatever. Like, we're nerdy about this stuff, and it's like we like study this stuff, you know. And that's what Junior Juggernaut is that it's three guys who dissect music, interpreting it. It's like we're inputs, like we're like robots of stuff that we sort of like, and it's like data.
You're a robot. What would you be called, Mr. Static?
Yeah.
Oh God.
But I really feel that way. It's like
That's his fucking shirt.
Yeah, it does look like that. Absorbing the data and the emotion, and not to make it purely like analytical, but it is sort of like, we're
music nerds.
We're music nerds.
We did this a few weeks ago.
We
did this a few weeks ago where it was like, I'm like, listen, sit down. We sat down in front of the
computer. Weezer are music nerds. That's
we YouTubed out like this goes to this, goes to this, goes to this, and just this whole like fucking like, it's like, oh my God, like you heard Milk for the first time, and it was just like, what the fuck is that? Like it stretches so far beyond what people think it does for people like us. Like, well, what was after that? What was before that? What happened during that? What was the fallout from the disaster of that? And that's the fun part. Like, what's the worst band breakup you've ever had?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yeah.
I've never had a bad band breakup.
Oh man,
I never have.
You've never had your heart broken.
Oh, I'll tell you a bad band breakup, but it's not bad in the way that you think. I was telling you earlier, the only band I've played in that I didn't front was this band in Austin in the 90s called Hurtbox. I don't think you were in the room, but they were like straight punk. It was like Black Flag, Circle Jerk kind of thing. And I was their bass player, again, a power trio. And I joined them way late in the game. Like, I was their last bass player. They put out a couple demo tapes. They never like officially released anything. But the singer guitar player, Shelly, and the drummer, Julie, were an item. And I didn't realize this when I was in the band at first. We drove out. I remember driving out to play some show in the middle of nowhere, like on a farm or something in Texas. And we got out there. We were in Austin. It was probably a couple hours away, and the show wasn't happening. I was like, oh, okay. And there was a watering hole, and we went swimming in the watering hole to pass the time. And they started hugging and kissing. I was like, the fuck are these two together? I had no idea that this band I was in were like boyfriend, girlfriend. And eventually, on New Year's Eve one year in the 90s, they went somewhere out of town, San Antonio, I don't know where, and he proposed to her that night, and she accepted. And on the drive back, they were hit by a drunk driver, and and he was blinded. He became blind, and she was all fucked up, and it took a lot of surgery and stuff to get her to a place where, whatever. They ended up getting married and then getting divorced shortly thereafter.
Sorry, I asked a question.
But that band ended because he wasn't able to play anymore. The band wasn't able to play anymore. That's the bad breakup.
That's a fucked up.
I mean, that's what I mean.
That's a tragedy.
It is a tragedy.
Shakespeare was like going, "Fuck, I should have written that myself."
And I wish I could find them. I wish I could get back in touch with them, but I don't know where they are. But we were cool. We were a good band, and they were cool people.
Very interesting story is Sean, our producer. I met him when I was 14 years old, and I was working pretty much
confessional.
What he's doing on a fucking comedy show. It was like a local access cable show, and it was filmed across the street from my house at a church
using real live Betamax.
Yeah, my mom worked at this church as a custodian, so I started kind of hanging out, and this punk band came in. It was a Christian punk band, and he was.
You said we can't talk about religion.
But
that was one of the rules.
He says a lot. He talks a lot.
So this band came in, and I was just like, "Oh wow, this is kind of cool." Well, their bass player and their singer were an item, and that night they actually fucking broke up.
Oh wow!
And
it was the Lord's will.
Him and the drummer.
It was the Lord's will.
Him and the drummer.
Oh my God!
Him and the drummer were like, I don't think we have a band anymore. And I started helping them with their equipment, and I was loading it in their truck. And he's like, "Oh, I live a couple blocks away. Do you want to help us, with the equipment?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I got in the back of the van that they had, or the car, and it was a Volkswagen Squareback, and I was putting like one item in, and I had to actually get in it, and then he fucking closed it, and he goes, "You're going to my house." And I was like, well, dude, they kidnapped me. And we drove to his house.
You loved it.
We unloaded the equipment, and that night, because they knew that I, kind of played drums. And the drummer said, "Hey, I'm gonna fucking pick up the guitar and sing. He's gonna play bass, and you want to be our drummer?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I really have never been in a band." And that was the very first band that I was in that got me into what I do now. If it wasn't for this kid right here, this man,
this little man child.
Well, you think of it. We always think of the people that we know as they were when we first met them.
No, we don't. No, we fucking
I do.
My dad really, I don't know why, but my dad really connected with him. He became an EMT. We went to Mexico together. He became a part of our family, and he had a rough childhood, and my dad cared for him like a son.
Mm-hmm.
So that camaraderie of being in a band with people that you knew as your brothers, really, he was one of the first people that got me into that feeling. I toured, I recorded my first record with this guy, and here I am fucking.
You're podcasting with him now.
Yeah, I mean, he's still part of my family.
Is he ever on camera? He talks off camera. I feel like you're,
and he shouldn't. He shouldn't.
I feel bad that nobody can see him. Can I take the camera?
No.
Nope.
I'm gonna just get Gizz.
Because then his ex-wife's gonna want part of this. That cunt.
What is this button that says end stream?
What time is it?
Are we done?
No. We're not done yet. We are absolutely not done yet. We're not done yet. We got 7 more minutes.
What time is it? Cool.
I'm gonna buy a fucking clock. We can go.
Before we go on, or before we go off, tell me more about your movie.
Well, it's a horror. So I love horror films. I've made a handful of horror shorts and stuff like that. And it's
real quick.
Yeah.
Your little post that you did the other day about your son watching
Chainsaw Massacre.
Leatherface. Come on, right there.
No, Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite movies of all time. I knew the director, Toby Hooper,
Fucking hell.
because I'm from Austin and he's an Austin guy, and I met him first in the 90s when I was working at the video store there, and he came in to rent movies, and I was like, I was such a huge fan of his. And then I guess he was living at that time. Then he moved out to LA again, sort of when I moved out to LA in '99, and hooked up with him. But yeah, that's my son. I don't, want to force my influences on my kids. I want them to, do their own thing. But he has organically sort of come into an age, he's 13 now, where he likes watching horror movies. And we went to Halloween Horror Nights last night at Universal, and so we watched that to bone up because they have mazes based on movies. I was like, we got to see all these movies before we go, so you understand when you're in the haunted house what it's referencing. But So Mr. Static, it's a 10-minute horror film. It's sort of like a proof of concept for a feature I'm developing.
10-minute horror film.
Yeah,
Sounds like my honeymoon.
Sounds like my second marriage, first marriage, third marriage. Wait, which one am I on?
Anyway, it's fun.
Is there a place to watch it online, or is it not really set?
Not yet. It's playing film festivals. It's going to have its world premiere at Beyond Fest, which is a great film festival here in LA that the American Cinematheque puts on. It's going to be at the Los Feliz 3 Saturday, September 28th at 4 p.m. And it's free. You can go, and you don't even have to pay a dime to go to it.
What if I bring a dime?
I'll take it from you. It'll go towards
We're gonna smoke
refunding
it down,
myself
I'll
the
tell you
budget. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we could do that too.
You smoke?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, not like a lot, but I do it socially. Wait.
How do you smoke weed socially? Because I smoke weed, I'm going to bed.
No, I don't smoke. I don't smoke alone. If I'm at a party or having a
drink
party,
That's the
alone?
only way I do it.
I don't really drink alone either. I'm more just like when I'm hanging out with folks, I'll do that stuff.
So you're saying you need a roommate?
Well, I have a wife, and we'll drink together. Yeah, I smoke and drink, but
We're gonna have fun on tour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
is that a
let's
social
get
thing?
into that.
Who's
What's
driving?
the tour going to look like here?
Mark.
Okay. Junior Juggernaut and Foreclosure are going on a tour of California in November from San Diego to Oakland. So it's sort of the full stretch of the state. We're playing
Sacramento.
Yeah, we're playing Sacramento,
Fuck that.
Oakland, San
Did
Diego.
you see that we got a text today?
I know we can't do that.
Let him finish, Gizz.
But,
It's not him.
But we can play them there some other time, right? We can
Or
see
we
what
played 2 shows in a day.
I thought about it. We got to do the math. We got to see if one can be a
That's
matinee.
4 shows per wall.
Can we get from San Luis Obispo to Sacramento in the same day and play 2 shows?
No, you fucking cannot. I promise you can't.
That's the other thing. Like when Wall was like, I can't do 2 sets. I'm like, dude, I would play for 10 hours straight if I could. Like, I love playing live. I would just fucking solo for 10 hours.
When
straight.
that Lazlo's Place did our 20th anniversary show, we
Uh-huh.
played for 3 hours.
I love it. I don't like to see a show like that. Actually, like when I went and saw Bruce,
Did you do the thing I do? Where you're like,
it's
okay,
too long. It's too long for me. I like
9, 10, 11. Okay, all right, let's go. I gotta pee. The fucking close the beer line.
it's
Okay,
it's too much of a good thing for me. I'd rather have had an opener and they play for 2 hours, 2 hours. My favorite is a 75-minute headliner.
that's long.
So yeah, but for
I can watch Dinosaur Jr. for 75 minutes.
yeah, that's what I mean. But if if it's a punk band or whatever, 45 minutes great. But 3 hours, like I love the Smashing Pumpkins. I went and saw them when when the band got together recently again with Jimmy and James, and this shows maybe like 5 years ago, and they played. I think it was the Forum, and it was like 3.5 hours long, and I was like, I love these guys. This is too long.
How about Foo Fighters?
Fuck
I
the
like
Foo
the first record.
So next door to me, my
Oh, hold
my
on.
business
I got a note about the Foo Fighters. I like to take credit for My Hero being their single because I went and saw the Foo Fighters on their first tour for the first record at Liberty Lunch in Austin, Texas, which is a 1,000-person venue. And after the show, I waited out back at their bus to meet Dave because I was a huge Nirvana fan and never got to see Nirvana live because they only played Austin once. Can you believe that? They played Austin once.
Really?
And I was like too young to go. You know, it was like really annoying. But
You're like 17 years younger than me.
and so anyways,
Bad at math.
Not Chinese.
I gave him my high school band Squidge, our demo tape after the show. But at that show, you know, they're touring the first record. My Hero wasn't out yet, but they played My Hero.
Right.
They played it live. It was a new song. And I was immediately like in the audience going, this song's fucking great. This is a great song. And after the show, I hand him the tape. He's like, oh, like that song, My Hero, is awesome, dude. And so when that came out as a single, I was like, that's because of me.
I'm gonna say,
Fucking hell.
this man made you famous, Dave
Exactly.
Grohl. Pay him some royalties.
On my recommendation, that was the single for the second record. But yeah, I like the first record, and I like about half the second record. Everything else, ever that's been a little boring to me. I'm not a big fan of that. But you know, Rana, I
like him, and then what's
I like him too. You know,
especially in
we're
recent
saying that.
days.
Yeah,
What has happened with him? Like again, like
Man,
like,
you're
dude,
a rock
fucking
star. He stuck his
mind
dick in
your own
somebody.
fucking business. I don't even
Yeah,
think that
it's-
should have been a thing.
yeah. I don't
You
want.
know?
I don't need to hear about it. And also, it's like if
But
it's the
if-
first guy or girl to cheat. Like I couldn't care less. Like
No,
it's
dude,
like,
fuck it, you know what?
that's
For him
their
to do
business.
For him to do it and to come out, and it wasn't somebody else spreading his shit.
No, he did it right. He goes, you know what? Fucking
I
shit
fucked
happened.
up. I fucked
taking
up, but
care of my
I am going to
family.
take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
that's why he is the
Congrats.
coolest guy in fucking rock right now.
He's
Yeah.
not the coolest guy in rock and roll right now.
Who
So-
is?
Well, Billy Joel will always be the coolest guy in rock and
I'm
roll.
going to see him at Intuit Dome.
Down!
Billy Joel.
See?
Are you serious?
Oh
'Cause
yeah, 100%.
Billy Joel.
Billy
is
Joel-
one of the best live shows I've ever
Billy
seen.
Joel said out
I
loud
love Green Day.
after he fucked this entire band, he said out loud 10, 25 years later, I am no longer going to produce material because I want the audience to find other bands. You're going to buy my album if I put it out, no matter what I do. You're going to buy my album no matter what. So instead of recording another album, he
That
said,
sounds to me like bullshit, to be honest.
No,
that sounds like writer's
it's-
block in an
It's in an
excuse.
interview. Well, maybe it is a writer's block. But he was like, I want you guys to discover other bands. And he started throwing money at small
That's
labels.
bullshit. That's bullshit. But I think he's awesome, and I've seen him twice.
And
And going
Bruce
through
Springsteen.
13. Yeah, and Springsteen's awesome.
He
And-
played 29 songs yesterday in Asbury Park.
It's too long, but he is awesome.
But it's the boss, dude.
It's too much of a good thing. I really believe that. Like,
okay, what
here-
band?
Here's the thing. You know, like I'm not into like Marvel movies, whatever, right? But
Okay,
those fans seem to prioritize volume over substance, because you would see them online like, oh, the new Avengers movie's 3 hours long. Yeah, it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, was it good? But then they're like, oh, the new Spider-Man movie is only an hour 50. It must suck. It's like, what the fuck is wrong
But
with
it's the
you?
same
Like,
Spider-Man movie the third time.
it's like it's
So what
just
band?
because something's long doesn't
What
mean
band
so-
would you watch for 2.5 hours?
well, Dinosaur, 100% Dinosaur.
Well, they were originally Dinosaur. Then yeah, I used to work for SST, and that was when Dinosaur was still Dinosaur.
Yeah, and
Dinosaur Jr. and Juggernaut.
I could watch. Yeah, it's on the nose. It's true, but it's. I could watch Jay for days, like 4
But he's
days.
such an asshole.
No, he's not.
According to the newest documentary,
What documentary?
so there's a Dinosaur Jr. making of kind of thing. He's
How
pretty-
dare you?
No, he's not. The British came out of you in a fucking heartbeat
I'll
right
fight you
now.
right
it's
now.
not, you fucking cunt.
There's a Dinosaur Jr. movie.
I haven't seen it yet. No,
He's like, it does. I'm not gonna say it paints him in the right light, or the correct light. Just that microphone really likes.
It's
whiskey.
okay.
And penis, evidently.
Pinsky.
There we go.
So
No,
I'm not
Jay
gonna
is
say.
cool.
I've never met the man. I'm not gonna say he's an asshole.
I met him
He's
a couple times.
Phenomenal human being.
I met him a couple times. I would never say I know him, but I think it's clear Homeboy is like special.
He is in
You know,
control.
He's
That
just a little bit special.
And I
that's his
think-
band.
I think
He is in
that-
control.
that-
He runs that fucking band.
But also, you're talking about, you see people like online bloggers, whatever, say he's a bad interview, and they take offense to it.
I
It's like,
heard that about you. Look at
yeah,
that.
I am, but Jay, he's clearly like
I don't know.
got his own way of speaking, and he's clearly like very guarded and only interested in certain things. Like there's got I wouldn't be
there's
surprised
nothing
if
wrong
some
with
like autism going on,
Oh, whatever.
But,
I'm not gonna posit that, but I mean, like he's
Look
got
at
his
him.
own thing going on. Hey, what? It's your. He's got his own thing going on. He's a phenomenal songwriter. His guitar playing is really, honest to God, second to none. Lou Barlow, do you like Sebadoh?
I love Sebadoh.
Sebadough's
fuck
amazing.
Yeah, I love Sebadoh.
Yeah, and the thing is, I could see like, well, I didn't hear. Nobody actually heard. We really don't fucking know, do we?
What are you talking about?
Just
now?
about anything. Like that. Like the whole, like,
I'm on your
You
side.
got really mystical. for
I
a
know. Well,
second.
the whole
Talk about
well,
autism.
that's exactly it. Like the whole thing, like, well,
That
fucking
was
this guy's an asshole, and that thing, and this thing, and that thing. There's just a ton of rumors,
Dude,
right?
I hear that every week about you.
Well, I am your superior.
Anyway, I would watch Dinosaur forever, but in fact, I got to see Jay play at Permanent Records here in LA. He has what's essentially a solo project called Heavy Blanket, where he on record. Have you heard Heavy Blanket? Have you heard
No.
Heavy Blanket?
I have not.
It's just Jay. It's instrumental Jay. It's just him riffing.
Oh, shit.
It's just him riffing, and he plays guitar, bass, drums on the records, no vocals. And they put out 2 records and a live album. It's like a live split with Earthless or something like that. Anyway, when that new Heavy Blanket record came out, I guess it was last year, he played at a show at Permanent Records, which, for those that don't know, it's a record store. It's small. It can't hold more than 150 people. And I was
That's
right
small?
in front of him for Jay.
Fucking rock star.
For Dinosaur.
Okay.
For Dinosaur. And I stood right in front of him and just listened to him solo, because it's instrumental. It's just soloed for like 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And I could have stood there
For another 80 minutes.
for another 80 days. It's just like, the sonics of it. That's the big thing for live music to me, is the songs. Like, here's what I hate. I know we got to wrap up, but there's this modern trend of live bands doing the silent stage, which I despise, where they don't have any amps on stage. They're all using like Fractal Line 6 stuff, plugging straight into the PA. With no amps.
off.
Did they do that?
The tour they did before they officially disbanded. Not they're back now, but that tour they did with Line 6.
Yeah. So a lot of bands do that, and
Yeah.
I've seen Weezer do it actually. Bands I like do it. Everclear, I really like Everclear. They've been doing it for the last few years, and it is abysmal to me. Right?
It's miserable, right?
It
I
sounds
want to
abysmal.
hear your shit.
Abysmal. It's a fucking new word.
it
not a
sounds
new word.
terrible,
Starts with an A.
especially in a club setting where
Agreed.
so much of what you hear is coming from the stage.
Yes.
And when you go to see a band like that, and you're hearing no guitars, no bass guitars, drums are really loud, vocals in the PA, it sounds fucking awful.
Hey,
And
I gotta disagree. I'm a drummer and a singer.
All right,
but
Mike.
That's all you
anyway,
need.
so much of what I like to do in Junior Juggernaut is to have a really full, visceral live.
So based
sound.
on that, what is your setup? What do you play?
I've got a 100-watt Marshall JCM 900 SLX half stack that I run a volume and EQ pedal through the effects loop to make it louder than 100 watts.
All right.
And then I've got my pedal board, obviously, but and then,
How many pedals on your board?
I don't know, 10 or something. But I'm not like My Bloody Valentine or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty straightforward. It leans more Bob Mould than Jay Mascis, frankly. Just a big, thick, distorted sound, and then will augment every now and then with a delay or a wah or
And your
But
guitar?
a lot of the pedals are just different versions of distortion.
Right.
Big Muff, Boss DS.
I like a big muff.
Mighty Red
No muff.
Distortion. Just depend. And then I play a Strat. It's called the Strat, not a
Yep.
Stratocaster. It's an 80s version where they had instead of a second pick a tone knob, it's a phase shifter. It switches.
I have one.
Do you have one?
I do. It's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, so I play the Strat from the 80s, and I have a 77 Telecaster, and I have an early 80s Telecaster too. But the 77 Tele and the Strat are my two main live guitars, and the Strat is an alternate tune, not unlike Goo Goo Dolls. I was sort of inspired when I started writing for this record. I always play open chords like Bob Mould
Yeah.
and Jay Mascis does.
Yeah.
But I started getting tired of like, because they're folky, right? You know, they're folky chords.
Sure.
But I like the full sound the guitar makes, all 6 strings or 5
Mhm.
strings. And so I sort of like started playing around. How can I play power chords but have that full range of chime up top? And so I
Ooh.
made a
I
an
like
alternate tuning I sort of made up that allowed me to play power chords with all 6 strings.
Okay, so I actually know exactly where you're going with this, and that's
and
cool.
and Resnick does that a lot. Like he has a
yeah.
lot of those alternate tunings that are he's just sort of like running bass lines on the guitar, but it sounds
That's
kind of like a
karma.
12 string. It sounds like a 12 string because
Yep.
it's chiming out on top.
did
That's
you-
my strat.
Did you ever watch Daryl's Garage when John Resnick was on it?
I don't know if I did.
All right, well, John Resnick goes on, and the guitar player,
Yeah,
Daryl Hall's fucking guitar
Mm.
player.
I did watch that.
Yeah.
I did watch that one.
And he's like, hey man,
He's not
he talks to the guitar tech, and he's like, hey man, I'm trying to figure out the song that we're supposed to play, and I can't fucking figure it out. And he
Yeah.
goes, well, obviously right now you're playing in the wrong tuning.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, for that song here, this is the tuning, and
Yeah,
he's like, holy fuck,
dude.
And as soon as he started playing, he's like, dude, now it makes sense.
It's honestly because I don't know. It's a really simple alternate tuning
Right.
I'm doing, but once I started doing it, I was like, man, guitar should actually be this way, like because it's actually easier.
I want to know
play.
exactly what in the hell you're talking about because I don't know this tuning.
I just changed 2 strings, the high E. I tuned down a half step. The whole thing's tuned down a half step, but I tune my high E string up a full step, so it's an F, or if you were in standard, it's an F sharp. And then E, A, D, G. My G string I tuned down a half step, so they match. Those 2 strings match, and it allows you, if you're playing power chords like E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C sharp, all of them, you can do the full 6 strings, and it makes this really pretty sound. And when I saw Resnick, he played an in-store, I don't know, at Fingerprints in Long Beach, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. He's playing solo. He plays the in-store, and he still has like 10 guitars with him because
Yeah,
they're all
every
in
song.
alternate tunings.
Dude, if you look at the neck on every guitar, it has the tuning that it is,
Yeah,
and the songs that it.
yeah.
It's
And
played
so
on.
I was for sure thinking about Goo Goo Dolls before I started writing for this record, because I was just like, it sounds cool. It's like a cool sound to do that. It's like a really simple way to play, and it allows like the melody to blossom in a way that it wouldn't if it was standard tuning. And so I didn't look at any of his tunings. I don't know how he tunes it, but I was just like kind of fucking around. Like, what if I do this? And then I sort of landed on it, and I wrote 9 out of the 10 songs on the record are in that tuning.
Which record?
The new one, Another Big Explosion. And that was definitely sort of like, how does John make all these simple songs sound like 12-string guitars,
Yeah.
And I didn't have the wherewithal to actually like watch what he was doing, and like, but I was like, what if I fuck around with this guitar? And I was like, it kind of sounds like that. It sounds good,
So interesting enough, I actually watched Wayne Hancock, and I'm like watching him right up front. I'm like, oh, why is this so hard for me to do that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's Wayne Hancock, and I was like, oh, it's just. And I go home, and I'm like, no.
Yeah,
No,
that was
what
your
the fuck is he
ex-wife talking to
doing?
And when people say alternate tuning, they usually think of something discordant, like Sonic Youth or whatever.
Right.
But I remember going to see this band Verbena. Have you ever heard
I've heard of
Verbena?
the band.
You
Yeah,
ever know this band Verbena? They were this really
I remember
cool.
the name. Yeah.
Grohl, in fact, produced their second record. I remember going to see them live at the Troubadour, and they're very like Nirvana meets the Stones. It's very like riffy but slithery, like the Stones. And I remember watching him going, oh, this is so interesting. It's all power chorded, but he's in an alternate tuning that lets him kind of like play with his fingers almost like a slide guitar. And so that's sort of when I first started thinking about alternate tunings that weren't discordant, that were to provide almost a way of ease with the sound that you're trying to get. And that's what we did on this. That's what I did on this.
See,
record.
and now that right there is what I think I love about Junior Juggernaut, is because every time I hear like your new album when I got the promo code to listen to the whole record. And I listened to it the first time. I listen to everything with headphones, and to me, like everything that you write, it's just when you listen to it the first time, it takes you somewhere that you've been to.
Mhm.
You know, it's not like you're taking me somewhere new. You're taking me somewhere where I'm comfortable,
Mm.
and that's what I love about Junior Juggernaut. Is it makes me feel at home.
Oh,
But
that's
it's an
cool.
interested comfortable. That's why I was like, when I was listening to you guys, I'm like, where does that come from? What is that thing? There's something, and I can picture my backyard when I was 17 years old. Like, where is that thing from? Like, what the fuck is that?
See, but
It is.
the difference between you and I is that for him, I know he listened to the guitars.
Yeah.
Like,
Guitars and
front.
vocals and bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me,
Sorry, Wall.
it's
Well, I mean,
it's the entire composition,
yeah.
you know. And to me, I think you have an incredible fucking voice.
if you
It-
paid me to be a
thank you.
drummer,
It
I would owe
makes-
you money.
Well,
Yeah.
vice versa. I mean, I love when I
Don't tell him that.
no, but it's true. Like when I had, when Wall sent me that Munich song to do a solo on, I think that's the first time I heard you guys. And I was like, oh, this is really great. It reminded me of Dramarama. I told him it's
It's a
got a
circular thing
Dramarama
here.
vibe where it's like, it doesn't, I think you guys kind of bill yourselves as punk, right?
No,
No, well,
Indie.
that's how I've heard you. But to me, it was more like,
It's adult indie.
yeah, it had like that sort of 80s indie radio
Yes.
sort of vibe to it, and-
Lewis for some reason brings that out of me.
yeah,
Is that it's almost like not even punk rock. It's more like the death rock
yeah,
era, like Sisters of Mercy, fucking
Don't even start.
Bauhaus,
Mhm.
Love and Rockets, like that stuff is where Lewis is kind
Yes.
of emoting,
yeah,
like musically.
It's because he touches him from behind.
I get these demos, and the songs are done, and I just add the vocals to it, and then I use my vocals as an instrument where I layer upon layer upon layer, which is another interesting story. When I first recorded Carousel, the
Mhm.
very first song I ever recorded with Foreclosure, and I did my initial vocal track, and I looked at Wall and I go, all right, let me double it, and hey bro, dude, I trust me, I've worked with a lot of bands, and the doubling thing really doesn't work unless you actually are doubling. And I heard Lewis go, let him do what he does.
Mm.
And he goes, all right, dude, do it. And I did the double. And as soon as I was done, he was just like, I've never heard anybody double the way you can do it. Like you actually sang it exactly
Mhm.
like you did it.
Yeah,
What else do you got to do? And I go, well, here, let me do this part. All right. And then I did it. And he was just like, all right. And he goes, all right, do you want to do all your harmonies and backup vocals? And then I'll do that at home.
Mm.
And he's like, really? Oh, okay. So I just did my initial vocals. And then I did everything else in my studio. And when I sent it to him, he was just like 32 fucking vocal
He's
tracks.
told me that he was like the Gizz Army or something
Yeah.
called it. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds sticky. So
Oh,
we're
dude.
gonna have to wander out of this at some point. Now, Junior Juggernaut, you guys have a website?
No, we don't. We're on Instagram. We're on Instagram, really. I do the thing where you say and share to Facebook, and it does that for me.
Yeah. it's
Awesome. So we're
Instagram.
gonna put your schedule up on our website if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, please do. Please
Awesome.
do.
And then you guys have a link for merch. We'll put that up on our website.
Sweet. Yeah, that
We're
goes
also
to Mark.
pressing
That's
we're-
Mark's
We're
t-shirts.
gonna be pressing our own merch. Mark's t-shirts. Maxie.
Mark is Mind Power Records. That's it.
Yeah. You guys are on Mind Power Records. You got
Yeah.
a new one coming out soon? No.
Us. You know what? No, but our record just came out last month. Give me a fucking break. But we do have.
Now.
I do want to put out an EP next year. I have all the songs written, the music. That's how I write music, and then vocal melody, and then last minute I write what the lyrics are. So while I
Well, have you ever what's the matter? Yeah.
No, he doesn't need a
Salt
singer.
and pepper.
He doesn't need a
some
singer.
garlic.
He doesn't need any garlic or a singer or any sunlight for weirdness. Don't
anyways,
invite him in.
hopefully an EP next year. I've got those songs written. Maybe we'll record them
We
Christmas
should
break
do-
or something.
Hey, Mark, we should do a fucking split.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
That'd be a
Cool.
great
And I
10-inch
think
split. Would be
What
amazing.
we should do is, you know, like you come in and sing a song with us, and I come in and sing a song with you guys, and
I'll
Yeah.
be right there
Dude,
singing
if
with you.
We are label mates.
Yeah.
You know, I say we fucking.
And we gotta make the
Ebony
label.
and
Pay for
ivory.
But hey, we're coming down to a close. Dude,
Oh yeah, this is
thank
fun.
you so
For sure.
We have
fucking
new
much,
friends,
man.
everybody.
Yeah, new friends.
Yeah, new
This
friends.
is
Fucking
much
don't touch
fucking
me.
fun. We could go on for hours and hours and hours.
I think it would kind
Yeah,
of.
how long did we talk?
Hour 20.
Oh, is that
Wow.
one of the longer
Yeah,
ones?
I mean, like we
No.
could definitely go.
Wow, how
on.
can we? Let's beat it. Let's beat it.
if I can take a leak, we could go on. But I gotta take a leak.
You're peeing right now.
Yeah.
Let's find our way out of this one and let's just plan another one.
Let's
I'm so
plan
glad
out.
I'm wearing Depends.
Oh, we should do the Depends Olympics.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
dude. Good to have you on. Will you do it again?
Yeah, for
Get
sure.
the whole band in and maybe
All right.
do
Yeah, I
an
got the whole
acoustic
band in.
set.
We can squeeze in here.
Well, this is getting bigger, but we do a little
Acoustic show. We
acoustic
did play
set.
our first acoustic show just a couple weeks ago. That was the first time we ever did it
Oh,
at a record
yeah, I
store.
heard about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
cool.
I would really love to hear that.
It was good. I didn't know what to do really, but we did it.
I remember talking to Wall beforehand.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna use, dude. Like,
Yeah, like we didn't really rehearse it. You know, like we tried it once at the end of our full band rehearsal, and I was like, wow, we'll just see how it goes.
One last story. One of a dear friend that I have who's in a big band, punk band, who owns a fucking label. He
Okay.
and I
don't like it when people do that. You got to just give me the info.
No,
Who is it?
I can't say it. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
But he and
Just
I
let Skype
we were talking one night, and he goes, look, the way that I write my band songs is on acoustic guitar. If it sounds good acoustic, you know it's going to sound great electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's I mean, I don't know how to write otherwise, really. You know, that's
But anyway, I'm Gizz Lazlo.
I'm just Paul.
I'm Mike
Mike.
Williamson from
All right.
Juggernaut.
Next week we're gonna be actually not in here. We're gonna be in Pasadena
Yes, we are.
at Meow Meow's thrift store
Meow Meow.
with Veronica Sorrow,
Yep.
who's the owner of this thrift shop, and she's also the singer for Nocturna, which is a homage to Susie and the Banshees. And she has.
But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about her retail experience and her just being awesome.
And she's really cool. But anyway, we'll be there at her shop next week. So join us next Monday. We're here every Monday at 7:00. So get tuned up
Tuned out.
and tune in. So I'll
And
we'll
tuned
see you
backwards. I feel like I have to say some tune something.
All right.
Tuned backwards.
Tune them out.
I'll get alternate tuned.
There you go.
right,
Third stage
all right.
tuning.
All right, now we're gonna drink.
All right, kids. We will see you later.
Good night.
Suck it.